Hello DevOps friends, welcome! I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. I'm a little bit late to my stream today. Normally I start at 2 p.m. UTC and now it's 4 p.m. UTC, but it is what it is, and I still decided to do a live stream, so we might go a little bit later than usually. Cavanando, hello! Welcome to the stack! Everything is good, yeah, still, but we'll see, because for tomorrow we have a severe storm warning here in Ireland, and so we're expecting wind speeds up to 130 kilometers per hour, which is, yeah, pretty hefty, and so I'll definitely be hunkering down at home here in my little office and see that nothing flies away. Definitely stormy, as Moo says. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And of course, my kids got the happy news that tomorrow there will be no school because of the weather conditions, and that's especially great news for my 12-year-old whose birthday it is today. Need to get used to the new number. So yeah, today I'm going to do some work on my course materials. I'm in the preparation phase for my upcoming course, which is called Shell Scripting for Cybersecurity Engineers. So it's about Linux shell usage, especially in the SecOps corner, and at the moment I'm writing materials for this course, and that's what I'm going to do today. And in the meantime, we can have a nice chat if you want. You can lurk in the background if you want, but I'm happy to talk about all kinds of stuff, be it system administration, SRE, software engineering. I've been in this business for so long that I'm happy to talk about everything. And don't hold back, this is supposed to be an interactive thing, so don't think that you'd disturb me or that you'll distract me. If I didn't want any distractions, I wouldn't have started this stream. So yeah, let's have a nice conversation, shall we? Now, talking about my course, the course is directly connected to my community, and these red flags here are telling me that I need to do a fix here. Give me just a second. Apparently, we have a disconnect here. So let's restart these connections. That should do the trick. All right, yep, red lights have gone. So yeah, speaking of community, my community is called The Server Room, And I'm going to make my course freely available, my course materials freely available, and that's something new. Before I thought I'd charge course fees for participating in the course, but I decided to try and fight the AI slop that is going around increasingly. I'm afraid that good, well-founded information and knowledge is going to be harder to discover and harder to get in the future. And I'd like to contribute to trying to fight that, and that's why I decided, okay, I'll make my materials available for free and under a free license. And the live course, where I'm going to be on calls with my course participants, are not going to require a course fee. They will be available to members of the server room, which is the name of my membership community. And especially they will be available to members at the gold level, which is still a very affordable fee if you take into account that I'm going to invest a lot of time in these courses and spend a lot of time making sure that participants will actually learn what they're here for to learn. So if you'd like to support me, but especially if you'd like to take part in any of my courses, check out the server room at theserverroom.sh and see if that's something that you can do and want to do. And you will join a bunch of people who are already members, a very friendly bunch of people who are happy to share and happy to help each other grow. So that is something that I can highly recommend. You'll definitely get your money's worth. Okay, so now let me see. I just noticed that my current chat doesn't display bots on screen, and now that I've revamped all my setup here, which I did after Tuesday's stream, I can fix this. Give me just a second. Just need to find the particular setting here. Oh dear, that's a long URL string. Let's see. Oh, that's actually not in the URL string. Interesting. Okay, so that's in the app settings. That's also fine. Let me quickly get those stream bots. Okay, that should do the trick then, I guess. Let me see if that's true. Nope, that didn't work. Somewhere in there is a hide bots option. Oh, there isn't. Interesting. But yeah, I'll fix that later. All right, so let's get going, shall we? Here's my repository with the course material, and that is actually online. Let me get that on screen quickly. That's going to be at secops1.courses.monospacementor.com. Here we go. Here's the link. And that's a static website that gets automatically generated from the markdown text that I'm writing here. Whenever I push my stuff to GitLab, GitLab Pages then publishes the updates, and that's the most convenient way I could think of for publishing my course material. Which also meant that I was able to cancel the subscription for my learning platform plugin that I've been using on my website. It's a WordPress plugin called LearnDash, and while LearnDash is quite nice and it was worth it paying the subscription fee for a year, I'm not going to need it anymore because all the actual course content is going to live on GitLab Pages now. And so everything got much simpler for me when I decided to make my course materials available for free. That means I won't have to use that plugin anymore. Now, I am in particular going to work on the chapter about Bash today, which is of course going to be a central part of this course. And here I have a loose outline about stuff that I'd like to discuss in this particular chapter. So we're talking about command output, about variables, about input into commands, then the usual flow control stuff like conditionals and loops. And then we're going to talk about functions, which are very practical in many ways. Then we'll talk about pattern matching, also called globbing. And then we'll do a few examples, and every chapter will end with a summary and a lab part where we'll do practical experiments. So that's what this chapter is going to be all about. And in part, I'll be able to recycle content that I've already created for my Linux administration course. And that means that I'll have to check out my Linux administration course, which I haven't even checked out yet. That's a pity. So let's do a glab clone. Wait, there needs to be a command in Artuin where I already did that. Yeah, that's where I cloned the SecOps course, which is the current one. But we need a glab repo list of my course repositories, and that's the Linsys one. Okay, glab clone. No, it's repo clone. Monospace mentor. Linsys one into course. Linsys one. I can only assume that we're missing the .git. No. What's going on here? Monospace Manor courses, Linux 1. Oh, an X snuck in here. Okay, let's go into Lin course Linux 1. And in here, there's no content yet, because that still needs to be transferred from my old Linux master course. Oh dear, wait. What's going on? Oh, I cloned that at the complete wrong path. SecOps. Hey, this one goes here, but the content that I'm looking for is going to be in the LMC website for the Linux master course. And in here, there needs to be volume 1. And part of the content is in command line. Maybe it'll be a good idea to split stuff up here, so I can update these parts to basically make stuff more modular.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
White Rose, thank you for the follow. That's very kind of you. Always makes my day when people follow. And so, I mean, I'm used to making stuff modular in coding. It's an interesting question how to make stuff modular for writing too and reusable. Let me see what I can do here. By the way, is the font large enough for you to follow what I'm doing? If not, let me know. I'm happy to make stuff a little bit bigger. All right, so let's take a look how I've structured these things. Here, oh, no, that wasn't it. Index. Okay, most of that stuff is still empty. There's not much to copy from here. But that's also not about bash internals, that's more the generic stuff. So let me see, what did we do about streams? Also not much, okay. Advanced shell, however, here when we're talking about variables and stuff, then there's much more that we can use. Okay. Now, before I start copying and pasting these things, I'd like to make a decision about how to make this more modular without making stuff too complicated though. Here, this chapter, time-saving tools, for example, where we're talking about brace expansion. CD path would probably also be part of time-saving tools, I'd say. Okay, now let's think. We have a section about brace expansion. That's going to be a small part of this chapter. Will I break this chapter down into a lot of files? That might actually be the case. However, I don't think I'd like to render these files as different pages. Not only will it make navigation more complex, it also will break reading flow a lot when you have to switch from one chapter to the next all the time. Oh, will it? What do you think? Do you rather navigate from page to page on a per section basis? Or would you rather have a continuous long page to keep reading stuff and maybe be able to skim stuff more easily? I'm curious what you think. I've seen both on the web, where stuff is broken down into small sections and you need to click next all the time. And then, of course, larger pages where I can read and read and read and read. That'll probably decide how I'm going to render this. I can still break stuff down into smaller files, so I can easily integrate them in different courses. But question is, will I create pages for each and every file, or will I simply try and include them? And I'll have to find out how to do that too. So let me check the Jekyll theme that I'm using here. It might not even depend on the theme itself. It might be a Jekyll thing in itself. Yeah, I guess that's a generic Jekyll feature. Include file. Yeah, there's an include. And that's actually a liquid command. Is liquid going to be rendered from the markdown file though? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Taking an ad break. Okay. I'll use that time to try and research that. Well, looks like the include does work. Let's do an experiment here. So let's simply include test.md here, which means we have to, of course, create test.md. That's in the bash primer. Let's see. Running a development server here. Foundations, bash primer. Oh, look at that. How convenient. All right. So, yeah, I can go both ways. Now, I'll create additional files, and then at a later time I'll decide if I'm going to break this down into pages. For the time being, I'll simply include the files here. That's pretty cool that that's possible. Now we'll have to think of a naming scheme. All the stuff that we need to do here. So I guess I've already introduced a numbering scheme here where I say O1, that's module 1. O2 is the chapter number inside this module. And I guess we'll then do introduce how do I name this? I don't want to number these parts, I think, because I might want to rearrange stuff within the chapter just to make it more logical and have a good through line. And having a numbering scheme there will make that unnecessarily complex. So we could actually introduce a subdirectory for each of these chapters. Let's try and do that. Can I do this in the file manager here? When I say 0102/test.md. Yep, that'll move it. Nice. And that means we'll have to change this file and say that's 0102/test.md, and it still renders fine. Let's make sure it gets updated properly. Yep. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, that's pretty cool. Awesome. So let me go into that's Vol1, chapter 14, advanced shell index. And we'll copy this part. We'll recycle. This file, which means now we have some content here. That was easy. You can easily fill a page without AI support if you just have pre-written content. Okay, how about the chapter is the level 1 heading, and then these sections are level 2 and below. That's great. I guess we'll first cover brace expansion, and then we'll also talk about CD path, and I'll add a to-do comment here for me to still fill that out. Cool. That needs to be at level 3 though. Does it? Yeah, I guess. Time to rename this properly. Time saving tools. And that means we'll have to rename this as well. Time saving shell tools. And that should get this rendered properly again. All right. With this new include approach, a new question comes up, and that is, what's my single source of truth for this part? Splitting it up into files makes it easy to copy content from one course to the next, but what's going to be the prime content source? I wouldn't have thought that writing stuff at scale poses very similar challenges as writing code at scale. That's funny. So I guess what I'm going to do now is inside this comment, I replace this outline with include statements. So command output.md, that's output here. Then we'll have variables with their positional parameters. Let's split it up. Positional parameters. Positional parameters. Yeah, that's $1, 2, 3, and so on. We'll also have to talk about script arguments and argument parsing, but probably at a later time. Positional arguments. Okay. Then command input. I'd say we'll combine conditionals and loops into a single control flow file, because I can't imagine discussing those separately somewhere. So it doesn't make sense to split those up. Even though we can. Why not? Let's also do a little bit of prefixing here to yeah, I think it makes sense. Shell conditionals, shell loops, shell functions, then shell globbing, that's the pattern matching. First script will be specific to this course, as will be the summary and the lab. Cool. And that means I can actually create these files. I guess we'll include the time-saving shell tools after the globbing. So this part comes after that. And just to get a little bit more stuff on that page, we'll create the summary and labs files quickly. Summary MD and lab.md. And that then just requires a level 2 heading for lab and heading 2 for summary. And since those get included, these files don't need YAML front matter. But I need to, of course, enable those two. So where's that? That's in the bash primer file. So we can do this. This looks like there is an error somewhere. Let me see. Yep. Could not locate the included file. Shell command output. Shell command output. Interesting. Okay, so the include statement isn't affected by the comment around it. That's something I didn't expect. Okay, so those get executed anyway. Well, that's not a problem then. Let's create these files, shall we? We'll simply do shell command output.md shell variables.md. Looking forward to writing that section. Positional arguments. That's also going to be an easy one. Shell command input.md. Interesting. Shell conditionals. Shell loops. Shell functions. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy writing these chapters because I can reuse them in my Linux administration course and definitely in other courses as well. Having stuff reusable is always great, especially if you are so pressed for time as I am. Shell globbing. It's such a funny word, globbing. Then the time-saving shell tools already does exist, and then first shell script.md. That's it actually, because the rest does already exist. Now, should be able to render that. If there's still a problem, then we have a typo. Shell positional parameters. Oh, I said positional arguments. Okay. Still doesn't render. Why? First script. Okay. Here we go. Summary, lab. The other stuff is still missing because there aren't even headings in there. Cool, cool, cool. We can at least add the headers, though. Command input. Command output. Let's make it a habit of writing title case for these headings. Conditionals, conditional execution. Shell functions. Let's call it pattern matching. All that's left is the first script. Our first shell script. Now, how does this look like? I did a one several times. Command output positional parameters. Yep. Conditional executions, functions and pattern matching. A little bit too quick there. Conditional pattern matching. Okay. And our first shell script is okay. Nice. Okay. Now let me see what else can we take from advanced shell. Talking about the path variable would also make sense, I think, because that also has security implications, especially if you include the dot directory in your shell path. So that definitely has its place in a SecOps oriented course. Question is, where do we put it? I guess before we talk about command output, let's talk about command execution. Yeah, command execution is important. Shell command execution. We can also talk about built-ins in that context. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll create a new file, shell command execution. And command execution. And we'll have the path, and in there we'll have a warning. While we're on an ad break, let me check. That's the wrong. That's the course template. Here. 1 to 2. Oh, it's a colon at the start. Okay. Be careful about including the dot directory representing the current working directory. Current working directory is often abbreviated as CWD, but the variable and the related command are called PWD. What's the P? I should know this, but print working directory. Okay. Interesting that the variable is also called PWD then, because the variable doesn't print anything. It's the CWD, the current working directory. Huh. Wonder how that went. Okay, so important. That's not the one I was looking for. In execution. Did we already include command execution in our file? We didn't, right? Let's put that right at the start. Shell command execution. Yep. Ooh, getting alerts here. Give me a second while I check how serious this one is. Getting an alert tells me that it's past 5 o'clock because that's when my on-call shift started a few minutes ago. Let's see. Is this something that needs to take my attention? Not directly. But I'll go and check this just to be sure. And while I'm doing that, well, I don't need to take a break in that sense. We'll just switch to talk mode. What are you doing at the moment? What are you up to? Let me see. Oh, it's resolved by itself. Okay. Those alerts are the best alerts. Only no alert is better than alerts that resolve themselves immediately. While this might seem convenient because you don't have to prefix commands with slash, it creates a security risk. Yeah. when your current working directory contains files that you didn't create yourself, for example, they downloaded. Yeah, that's the problem with adding the dot directory to your search path. It's all fun and games until someone sends you an archive that contains files named ls, pwd, cd, something like that. And if you have the dot directory in your search path, especially if it's at the beginning of your search path, they will take precedence, and that means you'll execute the ls command in your current directory if you're not careful and maybe didn't notice. And that means whatever this ls command does will then be executed. It might actually display a few files, call the original ls command or something like that, but it might also do stuff that you don't want to happen. And so putting / or dot in your search path usually isn't a great idea. It's much better to force yourself writing / command, even though it's 2 more characters you need to type. The added security is more than worth it. Are likely to take precedence. You might end up executing an ls command that does much more dangerous things than the original. So that's of course the wrong markdown syntax. Hey, sorry, Dev, we're not co-working. I'm surprised that these tasks are in there still, because I thought I had cleared them all. Strongman says, that reminds me of the time I had accidentally created a directory named tilde with contents. Quickly understood what mistake I had made when the command rm.rf tilde didn't exit immediately. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah, that's what the -- argument is for. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, let's prefix all these lines. Can I still GQIP with that? Yeah, awesome. I love Vim. And does this render as a warning properly? Let's see. Oh yeah, amazing. Yep, always have a backup. You never know when you screw up. That reminds me, I need to send another response to someone who I was in touch with yesterday on Mastodon. The person asked about home labbing and how to maybe have spare copies of your applications, hinting at something like high availability or at least easy disaster recovery. And my first question was, before we talk, well, when we start talking about disaster recovery, do you even have a backup in place? And is that backup going to survive your Raspberry Pi going down? And they answered, yeah, I have a backup. I'm backing up the YAML files for my Docker containers. I'm backing up the images for my Docker container, and I'm backing up the data for my Docker containers, which sounded pretty diligent. So at least they can recover and prevent huge data loss by that. Of course, now it gets interesting, because if you want to shorten your DR time down from what's necessary to set up a new host and then use your backups to restore everything, most of the applications that usually run in Docker aren't designed for high availability, or, for example, aren't designed for running in two places at the same time and sharing a file base or something. So that'll require a little bit more of an elaborate answer there. I'll do that later after the stream, I guess. Stoyman says, took some hours, but I think everything that wasn't on the backup was fortunately on GitHub. Oh yeah. Close shave, huh? Okay, so command execution, the path. Then, of course, in command execution, we have to talk about permissions, but that's going to be a challenge in terms of content order. Because while we can talk about the path, right, when we talk about, okay, you're typing commands in your shell, where do those come from? I think going into permissions at that time is a little bit premature. We'll have to talk about it eventually before we get into first script, I guess. Or we can talk about it in the context of the first script. That would probably make the most sense, because we can create our text file, maybe even fail at executing it or executing it using the bash command. Making the script executable. That doesn't even have to be something that I include. Turning the script into a command. Explain the +X mode. Cool. I love how this is taking shape. Yep, down here we have the heading. I also noticed bash primer is a little bit too terse, I'd say, so let's call it a bash primer. Well, I can leave the title, but the heading should be a bash primer. And then regex primer sounds bad. 2 primers in a row, especially if we also have command line primer. Oh, I was completely out of creativity when I wrote this. We'll call it the command line. And the Linux command line, I guess. I might mention Unix. But in the context of this course, of course, we'll talk about using Linux and Windows. So the Linux command line. Well, if we're talking about Windows, we could call it terminals and command lines, or the terminal and the command line. Let's stick with the command line for the time being. And that means I can actually rename this to simply command line. And we'll call this simply regex, and name the chapter accordingly. Now we have the command line, bash primer, that makes sense, and regular expressions. In the foundations chapter, that gets updated automatically. However, in my main index, I need to also reflect that. So we'll call it the command line, bash primer, and regular expressions. Yeah, that's much cleaner. And seeing that reminds me that there needs to be a picture of me as well. And we'll steal that from my main website, just like we did here. Can I get a link to this image? Copy image link. What is the image link? Okay. Pixel Buttercup, another member of the server room. Hello. Yeah, it's been a while since we talked. How are you doing? Speaking of the server room, if you've joined this stream recently, the server room is my membership community. And the course that I'm working on right now is going to be available to all members of the server room at the gold level. It's going to take about 8 weeks. It's going to include 8 sessions with me, live sessions that will also be recorded, of course. And all you need to participate is be a gold member when the course happens, and you'll be able to get access to the free course materials, which I'm writing right now. And of course, you'll have access to the Zoom calls that we're going to have every week, talking about the content of the course and talking about additional exercises and experiments and things like that. First, I thought I'd offer this course for a course fee, around €200 or so, and but lately I thought, yeah, I want to make my content more available to people who can't afford higher course fees, especially in the face of all the AI slop that starts polluting the web. And since well-founded practical knowledge is going to get harder to find on the web, I'd like to help making that exact learning and educational content available. And so I decided, okay, let's scrap the course fee approach. We'll make it available to members of the server room. And so all you need to do to participate is subscribe to a gold level membership in the server room, which is priced at €25 a month. You'll get a lot more benefits than those courses, and on the serverroom.sh you can find all the perks that members have. And part of those perks is also having access to people like Pixel Buttercup, who are members in the server room and are more than happy to help out and share their own experience and things like that. It's not just me. There are a lot of other people who are most likely smarter than me and happy to help. Pixel Buttercup says, I'm all good. Been sick last week and I'm going into surgery a couple weeks, so crazy start of the year, but it's all good. That's great to hear, because yeah, hearing things about surgery always makes me very concerned. Company agreed on paying the GCP architect certificate, so getting something good out of that. That's amazing. Will you have time to study? Will you have more time to study? Is there something that you can squeeze out of there? Thanks for your offer to help. That's amazing. That's very kind of you. Now, why, what? Yeah, okay, the image. Yeah, let's include that image, shall we? Let's see. We'll put that here, which of course is going to be far too large. But I think just the docs allows us to scale images. Isn't that the case? Is that in layout? No, it's not. Utilities, layout, spacing, display, maybe? Oh, that's direct mapping to the display CSS class. Okay, that's not what I was looking for. UI component? Code, buttons, labels, tables, nope. Markdown kitchen sink. Small image. I'll have to get the markdown file for that. So let's do just the docs on GitHub. That's in docs. Where was the kitchen sink? Minimal test? No. What's that file? That's it. Markdown kitchen sink. Here we go. And where are the images? Wait, more code, definition lists. Oh, okay. We need to look at it in the raw markdown. Here we go. Small image. That's just by including. Oh, it's just the images are actually scaled. That was not what I was looking for, though. Nah. Let's go back here. There are helper classes, aren't there? Color, layout. Yeah. So, first of all, horizontal alignment. Yep, that makes sense. So let's put dot float right on that image. That's a good starting point. Nope, that did not work. Dot float right. But of course the image has to be small enough to be able to float. It won't float by itself, will it? Nope. So we'll have to use something for sizing. Isn't there anything that we can use for width or something? I'm pretty sure I did solve that problem in the past. That reminds me, the LMC site must have had something like that. Like in the main index. Yeah, here we go. But it's just D block. DLG none. Interesting. And I'm using a 300 by 300. Well, we can always do that too. Okay, so we have one that's small and gets floated, and down here we have one that usually does not appear, but when it's large, then get put there. Oh, nice. So we'll do that exact same thing. Grab that. Put that here. We won't need that. And then still these two lines. Interesting how I did responsive layout just using those few classes. Yeah, just the docs is definitely a really great thing. But that's not what I wanted. So different URL. Let's see. That still won't work, I guess, because of the size of the picture, but interestingly enough, it displays it below in this case. Is that a width issue? Ah yeah, once we are small enough it jumps to the front. I guess how the thing is, the flex here needs to apply to the whole thing, and how did I manage to do that? Simply by avoiding blank lines in here. Ah, Let's see how this works out. So we have to say, we'll do this. Oh yeah, of course the picture needs to be smaller. But yeah, that works. So it'll push us these two next to each other, and once we are small enough, it puts it in front. Okay, that works for me. Now, yeah, I guess we need to size that differently. And I wonder if there is a class that allows me to do that inside of just the docs. That would probably be in SAS. Which classes? Yeah. Where is D block defined, for example? D, not Glock, block. Here it's documented, and in the layout as CSS it's defined. Okay, D block. Floats, flags. Okay. So I guess if we can find something else, layout. No, that was layout. Let's look at the utilities. Colors, layout. Oh, that's the collection of everything. Typography, lists, and spacing. Well, if spacing doesn't have it, and that's just about margin and padding, we will have to provide different images. Now I wonder, Hex Malvi, welcome to the stack. They asked, do you use a MacBook or don't like MacBooks? Neither, actually. I don't use a MacBook. I did though in the past. I'm fully using.
We're at DEFCON 1. DEFCON 1.
DEFCON 1, you know the drill. You can use the ! attack commands, raiders, welcome. And hey, people who were already here, do use the ! defend command to put something against them. So, how's everyone? Welcome. The Linux developer, that's amazing. Thank you for the raid. I'm Jochen, the Monospace mentor, and I'm working on the course materials for a course that I'm planning to give in March-ish. That's called Shell Scripting for Cybersecurity Engineers. And at the moment, I'm solving the problem of sizing images correctly for that, for the main page of the course. And you can find the course at this URL, the course materials at least. So, how's it going? How was your stream? Okay, where was I? Yeah, I was about to find a way to get pre-scaled images from my main website. So the thing is, I have this main page for the course. That's my local work server. And I want the image of myself displayed next to the text, but of course not at this size. That's a little bit imposing, I think. And so that needs to be scaled down. And I actually achieved some responsive magic that once the window is narrow enough, the image automatically pops to the top here and gets displayed above the text instead of next to the text. And the thing is, I'll have this section on every course page that I'm going to create. And I think I want this to be hosted centrally. And since I already have my central website, monospacementor.com, I'm trying to get this picture here in a scaled way. View media file, download file. I don't think this gets... I don't think the website creates thumbnails automatically, so we might have to upload the same file in different sizes, which is also not a problem, I think. Linux developer says would be easier with pure static HTML and CSS. You're correct. That's the thing that I wanted to try first. You're perfectly right, because yeah, that's how I'm doing it. It's a markdown file, is it though? It's index.md. Yes, it's a markdown file, but I can use utility classes that come from the Jekyll theme that I'm using. It's a static page that gets generated by Jekyll, and the just the docs theme that I'm using has these utility classes and a little bit of a markdown extension with these curly braces that allows me to apply those CSS classes to parts that I have here. So for example, the image that gets rendered in front of the text does not get rendered for the large screen size and gets rendered for the smaller, for the narrow screen size as a block. And down here I have another reference to the same picture, and that usually doesn't get rendered. But when we are in the large breakpoint, then it gets rendered inline. And everything gets, the whole block gets rendered as flex. So in that case, it gets then rendered next to the text paragraph that I have above it. And I think, and that was what I was trying to find out, if just the docs has predefined classes for sizing. However, it does not seem to have any, which doesn't mean that I can't provide any. So let's see, we have our own SAS. directory here. It's not part of the color scheme, so we'll put it into custom SCSS, where we already have, for example, the align self-start here. So how about something like this? Doesn't look completely out of place. We'll call it image small, where it'll define a max width of 300 pixels. That was the original size of the image I used for a different website. So if it's at or below 300 pixel, that should be fine, and that means we can then use .image small. Thanks for getting me back on track, the Linux developer. That was a great hint. That was almost. Creating an issue there, but that still doesn't apply. Is that because the CSS doesn't get regenerated? Do I have to restart my dev server? Let's see. In that case, that's the wrong image. Let's make this wider. Now, this image here does have the image small class. Does it have a max width though? Does not seem like it. It has a max width of 100%. Okay, we might have to override what just the docs does here. Maybe we'll need to be a little bit more forceful here. That didn't do anything. It's still 100%. Before we are chasing after a red herring, let's restart that dev server. Nope, that doesn't do it. Does max width even work here? Let me see, where is it defined? Image has max width of 100 from the base CSS, okay. And if I do 300 pixel, it works as expected. So why doesn't it apply? I put it in my custom CSS. Did it get rendered though? Can't see that, right? What's changes here? Oh, that's the changes that I made manually, okay. Wait, that's just the doc's default CSS? That got changed to... Oh yeah, that's what I did, okay. So... Let's reload everything. The image small doesn't appear here, because my suspicion is that the class definition doesn't apply. The dotted line self start though seems to work. Let's try one of the typical things. Did that... wait, something's off here. I'm making changes to CSS, but that doesn't... Jekyll doesn't react to that. That is strange. That's because I'm using the wrong file. I'm in the wrong project. That is unfortunate. And we'll close this buffer. And of course, we'll go right to our own directory where there is another source. Custom CSS. Right. Right. That looks much different. Okay, image mod, max width 300 pixel. Let's do this just to be sure this time. Yep. Once you edit the right file, things start working okay. And once we're pushing beyond the breakpoint, you get the bigger picture. I think I'd like to apply some padding as well. Or rather a margin, actually. Just to get some nice spacing. Okay. Cool. And at this point, I think I'm going to commit stuff. Which means that in a minute or so, you'll be able to see the changes on the live website as well. And I'm pretty happy with the result of this stream. Making progress. From now on, I'm going to put in regular time more regularly to get this course ready for prime time, which I hope is going to be in March. And it'll be available to all members of the server room at the gold level, which is a moderate fee of €25 per month. And since the course is going to run for 8 weeks, probably, it means that for €50, you'll be able to take part in a live cohort of this course with guidance by me and, of course, the support of the other community members. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Now it's time to get ready for dinner. And let me see if there's someone we can raid. None of my usual targets seem to be online, but there's someone streaming software and game development with the title "Sharing is Cool," and I definitely agree. Oh, it's in... Is it in Portuguese, though? I don't think so. They have the Portuguese tag, but I think they'll be streaming in English, right? If they're talking at all. And yeah, chat is in English. So, yep, we're going to raid Eduardo. So let me line that up. Now yeah, here we go. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with my office hour at 2 p.m. UTC. Office hour means you come with your questions and I try to answer them and it's always a good fun for everyone. And until then, take care.
It's just like, either, and the thing is, if it is hard to implement, it's also likely hard for humans to understand. So let me give you a simple example. Yeah. Let's say we have recursion, a couple things. In my system, we have what we call dependent type. So you can say that you can have a proof saying that two things are equal. You can say, for example, that 1 plus 2, that 3 is equal to 1 plus 2. And this is a value. I can pass this to a function, and I can do things such as n is the natural. And here's the proof saying that n is 1 plus 2. And so when calling this function, if I call this function with the number 4, I'm going to need to satisfy that 1 is equal to 1, 4 is equal to 1 plus 2, which is false, which means you cannot call this function. That's kind of the idea. So you can only call this function when n is 3, which in this case, it's not very useful, but that's the general idea. One of the problems is, let's say I have a recursive, I have something recursive, so like this. What is the thing? I could in principle do 2 plus x because x is already in the scope, but that's not what I'm looking. Here, could I have a proof saying that x is equal to 2 here? Okay, inside of this scope, x was still not defined. And in the future, here, so down here, x is definitely equals to 2. But is x inside of x equal to 2? In fact, you could make this. You could allow this to be true. Because, what is going to happen is that it's going to expand this. Then it's going to normalize it. Normalizing it, it's going to be 2 equals to 2, which is true, and that's very easy. But the thing is, if you do this, now the user needs to remember that the variable, the user needs to look ahead. It needs to look ahead to see all the definitions. The good thing about this model that does not allow this is that all the definitions are always above, never forward. So like I can do a forward declaration, but the values are opaque until the definition. Logic safe is what we call logically consistent. Kind of. It's not that hard, by the way. There is just one thing that you need to reject to promote a type safe language to a consistent language, which you would be right. Logic safe is correct. And by the way, this does not, even that example here, allowing this does not break logics. Logics allow that. It's just that it's really hard for humans to track. The only thing that you need to, there is a tweak that you need to do. Does that mean that you cannot do normal programs? No, you can still do normal programs. It's just that you gain some additional features, and but some programs are gonna have a weird type. For example, can you do a simple recursive function? Let's say here, I'm not gonna write the full signature. Can you do this? That's the main thing that you cannot do in what we call a theorem program. You cannot do this. You kind of can. It's just that there will be an algebraic effect here telling, hey, this function may loop. And in fact, you can give it any type. So like, it's going to return A. And the reason why you're going to say this is because this function may loop forever. Here, it's for sure going to loop forever. But in many cases, the compiler is not able to figure out that it's not going to loop forever. So it's just going to color the function. It's gonna write it, and anything that uses a loop may loop, right? Because, well, if you have inside of, if you have a loop, an infinite loop, your code is by definition gonna take forever also to reduce. Yeah, it's not any recursion. There is some forms of recursion that are known to be safe, and this is the thing that users are gonna need to learn. There is no choice here. So, for example, if I go here and I make this and is the signature of a map. Ooh, probably not even write the whole signature. No, I would probably just write some. You could write it. Just that it's a big signature. L and F, and what I'm gonna do is L. If it is an empty list, it is an empty list. If it is this, add, tail, and it's gonna be F, add, map, tail, and F. of this. Yeah, loop includes recursion, just to go. But this function does not loop forever. And it's trivial to see why it does not loop forever. There is a thing going down on every recursion. So if I go to math, eventually I'm gonna get to the end, which is an empty list. If I get an empty list, it stops. So there is a base case if recursion is well founded. It does not need to color it. So that's kind of like a small plus. It's, you know, it's a small thing, but it does help in many cases. This. Okay, what definition of this? You need to write the names. Doesn't put the name. So yeah, there are some tricks. Okay, it's just that I'm thinking about all of them.
Ah!
Anyway, so what was I thinking? Self. Is needed. I understand, bro. I've been having time for some weeks, but yeah.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Anyway, what was I doing? I have the self check. Didn't like the way self check. Now that I can just have the value. So I should assume that that's okay. Nope. Thank you so much. That's a cute one. Can I use it? No, I cannot. Sad. I think only if I give you the sub, probably. Yeah, what was I discussing? By the way, there is a lot of weird things on my language that are not, how should I say it? That they exist not such that so that you can use it, but more that it's really nice to have. Um, for example, you can describe the booleans using functions. It gives you what we call the induction principle for the booleans, aka it says that a boolean is either true or false, which is really good because You can say that a function works for all the booleans, for example. You know, it's just true. But you can also do that for the naturals. This is what I'm thinking about right now. Especially this. This is should be the type of the booleans. The idea here is that boolean is a boolean b, right? So boolean is a boolean. That's kind of trivial. And then, you know, this, which is a function that takes p of true, p of false, and it returns pb. So when it's true, b is going to be true, which means it should return this. When it's false, b is going to be false, which should return f. This. This gives us what we call case analysis / induction. This is really useful. It allows you to write some formal proofs. It allows you to... Whenever I talk about formal proofs, people think about very fancy things. But I really want to convince people that formal proofs are not very fancy things. It's just that, like, most of the proofs that mathematicians care are very fancy, but the proofs that computer scientists care are very easy. Like, I don't know, man. I can say, for example, n is an int, and I want a proof saying that n is bigger or equal to 0. Because let's say this function is the function that creates an array. It's going to be a. We have the initial value, the array, which is a. We have the length, which I'm going to say that it's an int, and that's going to make me an array of a. What if int is a negative number? You cannot make an array of negative numbers. So what you want to do is you want to say that length is an integer and bigger or equal to 0. Now you got it. And even for, like, if you want to do get of an array, sure, you take your array. You're going to use this, and I want to say the index. What do I want to say? I want to say that the index is bigger and equal to 0, and the index is smaller than integer. That's it. So now I know that get is never going to fail. Oh, but what if I don't want to handle it? What if I don't want to manage it? Sure. Just use get exception, which is going to raise an exception, like unbounded. It becomes simpler, but at the same time now it may fail. So, invalid, like, or something like that. It's just out of bounds. So yeah, no, it's gonna fail. If this is not true, it fails. The good thing is, if this is true, there's no runtime performance or anything like that. It's just gonna run up. It does not have any runtime performance cost or anything like that. It just works. Otherwise, it fails. Of course, I'm also going to likely have a net. So we could take this, which is kind of nice. That becomes a much simpler function. And I would probably abbreviate this because... Yep. Yeah, but the good thing about this is that this is actually just an object that you may pass around. It's not like, you know, this is not built in the language. It's something that a user defined, like it comes on the standard library, and I can do many of those. I can do bigger or equal. I can do smaller. I can do different. For example, a good one is division. What if you have a numerator, which is any integer, a denominator, which is any integer? Well, traditionally, you would have here a problem, division by 0. So what do? We say that, hey, the denominator is not equal to 0. And now, you know, what if you want to call the function? What if you do take a number? You don't know the number. How do you do it? Well, a good one is to say, hey, is it 0? If it is a 0, you put here, you know, you're going to raise invalid input, then is 0. What if it is any other denominator? Sure, then it's different, and we do not have a problem. It's needed. You can just do. And you may say, of course, this kind of function comes from the standard library. but it's just up to you. Yeah, exactly. This function does not exist for 0. But the good thing that you can think about this is that this is not really like I'm using some sugar here, okay? But the biggest sugar that I have is related to pattern matching. You can actually derive all of these using induction, which is the biggest trick needed. But it's also at the same time you can have the proof separated. You can say, hey, denominator is not 0. Denominator is not 0. And this, is just defined because you did a pattern matching. And so now you can pass it explicitly to proof saying that denominator is not 0. So there is some tricks here and there to make it more ergonomic. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can make this as ergonomic as any traditional language by just not super traditional, because, for example, the signature of this function, it does contain an exception, right? It says invalid input, for example, which is an exception. But yeah, it's also useful for things like I/O and whatnot. So you always know what is a pure function and what is not. Yep. Many small tricks that I've been working on. The implementation is like not there, but I'm working on a very good implementation. That's why it's taking a long time, and also, I still have a daily job and whatnot. I do need to work on that. But it's mostly less. I should have shipped this by the beginning of the month. And a lot of this sugar is gonna take up way more time. So yeah, I'm just like going through the core, adding the features. Yep, thinking about how to make this very efficient, because this in this case it's actually kind of fast because the vision base is already handled. But there is some stuff that you need to think of, like, but it's pretty cool, optimizations and whatnot. Yeah, there is some really cool properties that are going to be very helpful for humans and compilers. Like any expression, if it is pure expression, so it does not trigger side effects, because it's not going to have any side effects. So like you do have a list of side effects of everything that triggers side effects. For example, if you call a read, let's say read a file, it's going to trigger I/O. And this is very similar to Monad in something like Haskell and whatnot. It's just that it's a bit more ergonomic, because if I do something like this, and I do like read to do.txt, I can write or do this right up. So I can read the file and log it, and you may be like, yeah, this is just a traditional language. That's kind of true. But in something like Haskell, you would need to do something like this. You need to have the data, put them on a binder, do the data, and at the end, yeah, something like this. That kind of is what we need to do. But yeah, things like this do work, and they produce some more standard approaches, but it's still a functional language. We do not have mutation. It's not the traditional way of doing mutation. We do have arrays, but they do have some weird behavior that make them immutable. They are still very fast. It's just that if you want to use them in a mutable way, they're very non-ergonomic. That's the trade-off. Either you make it fast or ergonomic. Yeah. Programming languages, you do need to embrace some trade-offs. Ugh. What was I do? Yeah, so I do have the self-check. I was thinking about Do I want to support FSD and SND like that? See you, man. Ooh.